Hey guys, it's Colleen brought to you with the Remax Realty Group and CB Real Estate Team, and we got Carl Weeks on the phone.
I'm glad you're on, Tiffany. We're going to start off with you covering the front door program, the incentives, if you don't mind.
The biggest thing with CCSI is that they are really trying to bridge the gap between landlords and tenants. They understand that the tenants are continuously kind of in a battle to survive in what we're dealing with state mandates, county mandates, the federal mandates. We're not getting the supports that we need, and CCSI is trying to help with that. In the meantime, we're all aware that there's a housing shortage. We're all aware that people are skeptical of still with the stigmas of renting to Section 8, to Project Anchor, to Providence Housing, to YWCA. People are worried about doing that because they're worried about the clientele they're going to receive. With this bridges that gap a little bit. It gives the landlord a little bit more of a cushion to say, okay, I'm not only getting a bonus for leasing up with these programs, but I'm also getting the backing of, a lot of times it comes with a case manager. It comes with CCSI's assistance if there's anything that goes wrong. If a tenant moves out and you have to evict a tenant and they have repairs that need to be done because of that tenant, that $3,500 is there. I've been a big advocate for this since day one. I do not receive any incentives from CCSI other than what everyone else does. I just firmly believe it is the bridge that we're all looking for to get help. The more that we use this program, the more the grant funding will be there. The more that we do this, the more that the government is going to see that, hey, this is a problem. These landlords aren't awful. They just can't afford to continue to be to be a housing provider when they're constantly having to dish out money and it's not coming back. I have also found that working with CCSI mediation has been beneficial as far as getting tenants to communicate. It's been beneficial as far as keeping tenants housed, finding out their story, figuring out where we're at. None of us want turnover. It's costly to have turnover. And at this stage of the game, getting a tenant evicted is going to be difficult. It's not a walk in the park. It's not a, hey, I'm just going to prove to you that I don't want to renew this person's lease anymore. So if CCSI can help with that, then that's where Front Door New York comes in.
The main structure is that the incentive stuff is for apartments that go through the front door website.
What they do is they have a website set up. It has a few things on it. It has a mediation option, which gives landlords and tenants a way to kind of talk with a mediator to work out problems that begin during tenancy, that whether it's the landlord not doing things and the tenant needs assistance, or it's the tenant that's having issues and the landlord's having a hard time getting them on the same page. CCSI has been granted funding for lease ups. So if you were to list a property of yours on frontdoornewyork.org and you lease it to a participating tenant in a housing program in the city of Rochester, you get a lease up bonus. The first property that you list every year, I found out, it is not just from the start to finish. So it renews every January. The first property that you lease up using frontdoornewyork.org is $1,000 lease up bonus. It's literally a check, no questions asked. You fill out a simple form, says who you rented it to, shows the lease signatures, when their move-in was, they cut you a check. It literally comes in like 7 days. Every property you list after that is a $500 lease up bonus. And that continues throughout the duration. I've never had them deny a single. I probably have leased up since they started this. I don't even know. I got to be at least 10, 12 units. I don't have a ton of turnaround. So, but I've been at this from the beginning. If a tenant was to be in a property and there are damages associated with the tenant, The tenant does not have to have vacated. The tenant could currently still be living there. They have up to $3,500 available for those repairs. For example, I have a tenant recently that I housed through Project Anchor, and he has his son that recently moved in with him. Him and his son are adjusting to him having custody and the son being in a much different, more structured environment. Broke a couple of doors, damaged a floor. I contacted Josh. I told him this is the situation. I don't want to evict the tenant, but I need to get these repairs, fixed. The tenant wants them fixed. Sure enough, I submitted my repairs with my receipts, pictures proving what it looked like before and what it looks like after. Received a check for those repairs. In the last month, I have 4 properties that also have received funding through the program. So one of the other parts of that program is there's $3,500 available for rental arrears. That person does not need to be part of a program. So I have 2 cash paying tenants, and I've had 2 program tenants so far that have gone through mediation with me. Pretty much I filled out a mediation form. I said, listen, they're behind on their rent. This is where they're at. It's under the $3,500. I would like to give them a reset. These are the reasons that they're telling me that they can't pay. I met with Catherine and the tenant. We discussed their situation, ensured that they would be able to afford the rent going forward, and submitted a form with a ledger of what they were missing. And I was cut a check for the rental arrears. And it's not going to cover everything. We all know that things are expensive, but $3,500 in your pocket is a lot better than nothing. From my understanding, it's a yearly incentive. I have not had to use it more than one time. Pretty much I have fixed the property while the tenant's been in there. And the tenants have stayed and I haven't had to reuse it. It sounds like it renews at the beginning of the following year. So 2026 will start all over again.
My understanding is it's per tenant.
One of my business practices is I'm very big about, as soon as they fall behind, I get them on the payment plan before I even get to court. So now that we've used mediation, I've been able to leverage all that with Jamie when we go to court. So she knows I've exhausted everything as a landlord. I have given them all this information. Here is the emails. Here's the documents I handed them. Here's what I certified mailed them, because everything I send is certified. So I can prove to the judge that I provided that information. So now that I have the information for mediation, I can prove that to them as well and say, hey, like, we even tried to go to mediation. I've done all this. I don't want a payment plan. I don't want to keep the tenant. I want them to get out. What I'm seeing is usually right now, evictions, a lot of times they're being adjourned out past the end of the school year because kids that's their biggest complaint is I want my kids to finish the school year. But for the most part, I've been getting my evictions that I need. I have a lot less evictions. And actually I have found that I think I only have 1 tenant that I have evicted after I have sent them through all that process. Otherwise, it's because what ends up happening is it gives them the tenant a sense of support as well. I think the judges are going to like to see that we have another avenue that we've all exhausted. And I think it just goes as a good business practice. You've tried everything. We've crossed our T's, we've dotted our I's. The only thing left is to evict them.
They still have the referral 250.
Yep, the referral is still out there. I've referred multiple landlords.
Wait, hold on, Tiff. Y'all hear this? So right now, Tiffany just referred you to this place. So if you jump on front door, Tiffany's getting 250 bonus.
Yes, make sure you let them know. And if you have any questions navigating it, please let me know. Anybody that I directly talk to about Front Door New York, I will immediately send a message to Sarah Grieve and let her know. So yes, if anybody gets on Front Door New York, please, if you list it, let them know I sent you.
Yep. Okay, there you go.